What Edward Snowden just said about the UFOs is kind of terrifying and actually should concern all of us because it's not about aliens specifically. So NSA whistleblower, an American hero in my mind and on this show's mind, I believe, agrees with us here at Redacted, as we've been warning you over the past few days, that all of this UFO talk is just a distraction. Just a distraction to take your mind off of what's really going on here. Take your mind off of Seymour Hersh and his bombshell reporting on the Nord Stream pipeline that the U.S. blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Where'd that story go? Where's the mainstream media coverage of that story? Arguably one of the biggest stories in 100 years, that the U.S. carried out one of the biggest ecological terrorist attacks of all time against our allies in the EU. But no, there's no coverage of it. So it's all distraction, right? To take your mind off of other things so that the U.S. can go to war and get us fully involved in World War III with China and Russia. So right after Seymour Hersh's piece ran last week and exposed how the U.S. deep state destroyed the Nord Stream pipeline, the mainstream media snapped right to attention, fell right in line and ignored the story. And they followed in line in favor of covering this balloon story, this UFO story all of a sudden, this UFO invasion story, which they had ready to go. Like ready to roll out at a moment's notice. Like, when can we roll this story out? Here we go. Are ETs or Chinese balloons attacking the United States? Are we under an invasion? It doesn't matter. Look over here, not over there. Look over there, not over here. Avert your eyes. We don't want you to see. And so Edward Snowden is spot on. He says this afternoon and agrees that, warning us all not to get distracted. He writes, it's not aliens. I wish it were aliens, but it's not aliens. It's just the old engineered panic, an attractive nuisance ensuring NatSec reporters get assigned to investigate balloon bullshit rather than budgets or bombings, a la the Nord Stream pipeline. Until next time, he writes, so keep this up for a second. So this is a part that I hadn't really thought about, but he's absolutely spot on. By having the Pentagon holding press briefings, right? And by having all of your newsrooms focused on the balloon story and UFOs, and we got to get our national security reporters down to the White House. The Pentagon's holding a briefing on this. We got to get everyone in the newsroom. Hey, the White House is calling a meeting. They're calling a briefing. The National Security Council is getting ready. They're getting all together. Go down and cover this story. Yeah, but boss, what about that story last week, the Nord Stream pipeline? I told you, go down to this new press conference they're holding. It's and I hadn't thought about that, but he's absolutely right. That's a total distraction. This is a way to divert newsrooms. It's a really smart play because everyone snaps to attention. He's absolutely right about that. Something big is going on here. Something really big is being planned right in front of our eyes and by your deep state government. And they're doing it under the guise of an alien UFO invasion.
He actually talks about in his book how when
Edward Snowden does.
In how when he first joined the CIA, you get access to this internal government search engine because they have their own form of Google, run by Google, and it's more anonymous than like your records pinging the server. So everyone goes and looks up things that are classified, like who killed JFK and that kind of thing. And he says, in the government records that are accessible to employees, at least, you cannot tell. He says, as far as I could tell, aliens have never contacted Earth, or they haven't contacted U.S. intelligence. That it's not like something that you can see readily as an employee of the government. He also says that, yes, man did really land on the moon, climate change is real, and chemtrails are not a thing.
Oh.
So those are his conclusions based on internal government search engines.
So we know that those government internal search engines, though, then are crap because they're totally bifurcating information from people, right? So like people get access to certain things and by the way, we know based on Colonel Philip Corso, who literally worked on reverse engineering of UFO programs for the government. The stuff was kept out digitally, was not allowed to be digitized. It was literally in a filing cabinet that his superior officers wheeled to him at the Pentagon. Here is the filing cabinet of all the reverse engineering material that you need. None of this is cross-checked and saved somewhere else. So again, being digitized in some sort of a CIA database for some low-level person.
And also those employees Yeah, those employees were probably only paying for the $9.99 per month
Yes.
version. You pay for $20, you get it all.
They weren't paying for Google, the G Suite of products, the
Right.
Google.
Right.
So anyway, something is being planned right in front of our eyes, guys. Like right now, the deep state, they're doing it under the guise of a UFO invasion. We're going to get all into more of this in just a moment here. But first, let me just address something. Last night, many of you sent me emails. You emailed me thinking that maybe, and I think you may have misunderstood me. And I want to be clear about my position on this. I think you thought I was somehow being dismissive of UFOs. No, I'm being dismissive of this government narrative that suddenly we're under attack by UFOs. That to me is garbage. No, we are not under attack by UFOs. In fact, on this show, we've been covering that for about 2 years now. How the Senate started talking about this. Marco Rubio started talking about this. And I predicted this 2 years ago on this show. We can find the tape where I said, mark my words, they're going to start to use this as a threat in order to increase our military defense budget. They're going to say, oh, we don't know what these things are, but we got to really start spending more money for an advanced space program or our space force or all of these things. We got to start spending more money on that. So I am fully in on this.
Oh, yeah, he is.
And I've been covering this UFO story for years. I have spoken to all manner of government employees, members of the military who've told me amazing things that they've seen about our secret government and our UFO programs in the government. They exist. Going all the way back to the U.S. retrieval of the UFO wreckage at Roswell, which was taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, in Dayton, Ohio. Even going back to my time on Fox News, interviewing Air Force One pilots about how they had interactions with UFOs while flying presidential candidates in the air, about technology that was beyond our own capabilities. Like, here's a little retrospective, just a palate cleanser. Watch.
Not a lot do. This pilot, though, who flew Barack Obama during his 2008 presidential campaign, says UFOs are real, and he's seen one firsthand. Here to share his almost unbelievable stories, pilot Andy Danziger. Nice to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Now, we should be clear that this incident that you saw happened in 1989. Why did it take so long for you to talk about it?
So, yeah, that was me many moons ago. That was about maybe more than 10 years ago now, probably, right?
You were such a baby.
Such a baby face. What's amazing, it's been almost impossible since that time to get any member of the White House or Congress to talk at all about UFOs. It's a subject they never ever talk about. And what the government is secretly doing about them, they don't talk about it. It's been impossible. No one would talk about it on the record, actually, for fear of losing their job. So it was with great alarm then that suddenly everyone is now talking about this story. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is talking about it. Just look at how NBC and CBS News both led their nightly news broadcasts last night. Watch this.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. It has happened again today. Another aerial object was shot down by U.S. warplanes.
Tonight, the growing mystery and the race to recover those unidentified objects shot down by U.S. fighter jets. Defense Secretary Austin saying today they were a threat to civilian aircraft.
Yeah. So now we're all in on it, right? Suddenly, now the White House, the Senate, the Congress, the Pentagon is all giving us license to talk about it, so it's all a distraction. In fact, you have top U.S. generals coming out holding a press conference. This is crazy. Top U.S. general not ruling out aliens after military shoots down 3 UFOs. So the whole thing smells bad to me. Something is not right. This is not about aliens at all. This is about fear so they can distract you from what's really going on. Just listen to the White House's John Kirby go into great detail about how the White House is talking now openly about UFOs. Like, what world do we live in now? Watch.
The president also instructed the intelligence community to take a broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects. Indeed, President Biden conducted the first ever daily intelligence briefing session devoted to this phenomenon back in June of 2021. He was briefed that this is not just an issue for the United States, but one for the rest of the world. And as I said, our friends and our partners are dealing with this as well. We worked on a bipartisan basis to stand up an office at the Pentagon to study this in partnership with the intelligence community, academic institutions, and the private sector. These unidentified aerial phenomena have been reported for many years without explanation or deep examination by the government. President Biden has changed all that. We are finally trying to understand them better.
Okay. Really? That's odd to hear from the podium, literally reading from prepared notes. When have we heard that before? We never hear that. It gets laughed off as like a joke by and no reporters ever ask questions about it. It's always like, oh my God, I can't believe he actually asked President
Trump. Without a joke.
Yeah, like, or David Letterman asks Obama about it or something, or Jimmy Kimmel asks, Bill Clinton about it, George Bush about it or something, or Hillary Clinton. But it's never part of a normal conversation, and now suddenly it is. So this morning at the Senate, the U.S. Senate held a stunning classified hearing briefing, and according to Punchbowl News this morning, U.S. senators went behind closed doors to try and get answers about these UFOs. Here are some of the people who are briefing these senators specifically. These were the same people that were trotted out at that press conference the other day, which I thought was really odd. But again, these are the same people here that are now briefing U.S. senators. And look at the names on this list. Who's their third on that list? NORAD, U.S. Northcom. General Glenn Van Herk, Commander, North American Aerospace. So what's going on here?
Like I've said in the past, this is like the perfect boogeyman, because you're not going to have independent media to be able to verify aliens, because none of us can go to space. So it's like they can create the perfect enemy. It's the perfect boogeyman for the next move, because like then they can get unlimited funds, because they can, photoshopping its spacecraft will be easy for propaganda. So it's like it's like the perfect next step with what we've seen.
Yeah. It's amazing too, because that this is all about money, right? And they can't confirm this stuff. We can't send people out there to find it. So we just have to rely on what they're telling us here. And if we're being invaded, like we showed you all like last night, I went into great detail about the Battle of Los Angeles during World War II, like bringing us into World War II, over that story. So what is going on here? Well, we can't be sure, but there is one thing we can be sure of. Last year, we were when we started talking about these UFOs, specifically about the Senate trying to raise money about this, and Marco Rubio was trotted out, and he was talking, these things can be a threat. This is definitely a threat to our national airspace because we don't know about this, and if we can't track these things, and we really got to ramp things up here, and we got to find out more about this. And then, of course, they're having this meeting today with the Senate behind closed doors, and I guarantee you they're going to come out. We're going to have to spend more money on our national defense, our air defense systems. This is a really concerning problem, and all a distraction for a bigger, broader story that they're trying to draw us into World War III against Russia and China. So Marco Rubio claims UFOs have been flying over the U.S. for years, he says. And here he says, look, they're shot down over the last 3 days are nothing new. Yeah, this is nothing new. And I've been watching this for years. This is happening routinely. And this is big. This is a big concern in the United States.
I can't wait until we're going through TSA.
What was that?
I was going to say, I can't wait till we're going through TSA and they're going to be like, are you an alien? No. Okay, well, we need to put you through this scanner because we kind of think you are.
Right. Both things you're saying is true, is that you believe in UFOs, but you also believe that the government is using this as a scapegoat to ratchet up its defense.
Right. We've had, guests on this show we've had Michael Horn and other people on the show. Like thousands of years of this has been happening, and suddenly now they're attacking the United States. Like, give me a break. Like, it's an absolute ridiculous thing. And so they're going to use it as a distraction, just like Edward Snowden said. They're going to use this as a distraction. And by the way, we featured former FBI special agent last night, John DeSouza, on the show, who said this is their plan. They've had this UFO fake invasion story ready to go that they're going to roll out. And he predicted this over a year ago. Mm-hmm. I reached out to John. I want to have him on the show. Actually, we're going back and forth today about that. But I said, you were right. Like a year ago, you accurately predicted this. You said this was their playbook, and they're rolling it out right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I find it interesting. And last I knew, the original balloon that started the whole thing, that was shot down and recovered. But these remaining ones, or these unidentified ones that they've shot down, they haven't gone out and recovered, have they? The last
Not that I know of.
They hadn't even gone out to that. So they just like shot them down. They're like, okay, end of story.
That was cool.
But they did today say they got valuable intelligence information from that first balloon that they shot down. Okay, great. We shot down the fluffy part. We really analyzing that bottom part. Okay.
I love that they say like it's a threat to civilization, yet debris falling towards Earth is no threat at all.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.